So let's talk about Marcus. As the proud owner of the online custom printing store called Printcraft Pro, he's always juggling a multitude of inventory issues. Come the holidays, he's always running out of some blank materials, while other specialty papers he orders remain completely unused for months. And yeah, this gets particularly bad come graduation or wedding season. He's especially frustrated when it comes to deciding inventory for custom orders versus ready made templates. And he has to balance all of this while considering whether or not he's working with canvas prints, photo papers, promotional materials, etc. So let's try to help Marcus find a smart solution to all of his inventory issues, as well as maybe figure out where all his printer ink is going. So to start off, I went ahead and uploaded all of the relevant files that we're going to be using in Query for this analysis. The first file, orders.csv, is going to have everything from the type of product that's being ordered, the amount being ordered, whether or not it was a custom design, a type of paper or ink that's used on it. Everything is pretty much there entry by entry. You can go ahead and familiarize yourself with that one if you'd like to. And the second one is essentially the amount of inventory that Marcus has after each of the orders. That's going to come in later, and that's going to be relevant, especially. But to start off, I think we can just go ahead and take a look at the product types over here. It mainly has promotional flyers, graduation announcements, basically all of uh, the types of things you think would be relevant for a printing business. And we can just go ahead and start off by just asking to show us the top 10 most ordered print products, just so we can see if there's any fluctuation in demand that differs from month to month, season to season. Let's just see what query says from that. Is done generating with all of that, and we can see that it actually gave us the top 10 most ordered product types and even calculated the peak months for us, which is very cool, and how many was actually purchased in each of those peak months. Promotional flyers beats out every the other nine, it seems, with a pretty heavy margin, almost three times. So I thought this would be very cool for us to go ahead and visualize on a line chart so we can see the temporal aspect of this data. So we come down here and we can see a very cool, oh, let me go ahead and put promotional flyers back on there. You can actually see the demand spike as the year goes on, right? This is the promotional flyers one, right, which is just blows all the other ones out of the water. Over 600,000 purchases in the month of August, or orders in the month of August. Very cool to see. But if we take off promotional flyers, we can see all of the other ones have very variable demand. And if we focus on graduation announcements, we can see that they peak in April, which makes sense. That's when people graduate. Wedding invitations, which is something that should we there we go. Yeah, we'd expect it to be seasonal. May and September, those are two very popular wedding months. So this is very cool for us to be able to see. But let's take a step back and really recenter on what Marcus is looking for here, right? He wants to be able to consider not just the seasonal demand for each of these items, but he also wants to be able to consider the material costs, right? The profit margins, as well as whether or not the item is custom or not, right? He wants to be able to consider a multitude of variables and see how that impacts the profit margins of each of those items and how much demand there is for it. So we can go ahead and start off by asking, our first question to really dig into this here: what are the material costs per product category, as you can see, right? We're going to go ahead and ask this question to query, and I'll see you guys once it's done running. All right, so query's gone ahead and wrapped up that question here. We can see that it's calculated the material costs for each of the products. Holiday cards and wedding invitations are some of the most costly. Holiday cards by a wide margin are the most costly. But the next question that I went ahead and asked was a profit margin question, just for brevity's sake. And something interesting I found was that even though this table isn't sorted, by the way, right? Even though wedding invitations are pretty costly for Marcus, it's one of his most profitable ventures by far. And if we try to find holiday cards on this table as well, we can see that they are losing money for him, right? For every dollar he invests, right, he loses. He only gets 27 cents out of it, it seems. This is not a very profitable venture for him. But the next question that I'd like to ask here is going back to what I said before about Marcus being really concerned with how standard versus custom templating is involved here. Let's just ask Query to calculate the profit margin for each of these product types, but also consider whether or not it's custom or standard, right? I'll go ahead and ask Query that and see what it says. But the next All right, so Query has done what it does best, and it's went ahead and considered all of the factors that we have given it thus far, and all of the other questions we've asked it are being considered as context, and we've just asked it to actually find a profit margin for each custom and non-custom product type. And it's broken it down pretty succinctly here. We can see that if we scroll down, it looks like business cards are, especially custom business cards, are pretty profitable for Marcus here. The breakdown by query pretty much reaffirms that. Yeah, business cards with custom designs achieve the highest overall and average profit margins, over 95% plus profit margin, which is excellent for him. But the next question that I think we should go ahead and consider here is, now that we have all of this inquiry as context, right? Let's just ask it to generate a sort of demand forecast, right, and recommend just how much of each product we should have, right? And remember, it has the seasons and seasonal demand as context, right? So if we ask it to consider all of the material consumption patterns that we've put into it thus far, it should be able to give us out, right, as you see in the prompt, a demand multiplier for each season, right? Let's go ahead and give this into query and see what it says. All right, so it looks like Query has finally finished all of its calculations here. We can go row by row and see the demand multiplier that Query has generated for each season and each product that is available during that season, right? You can see canvas roll, photo paper, premium card stock. It goes season by season, and it'll tell you just by how much demand increases or decreases relative to the baseline, right, for each and every single season. Um, at the end, right, it'll give a sort of overview that says that graduation season has the largest impact, around a 15% multiplier for a couple of them, especially Canvas Roll, it says. But now that we have this, I think the next step we should do is to see if Query can give us an actual sort of integer, a number that it would recommend for us to order each and every single quarter, right? We're going to go ahead and input this and see what Query says. All right, so now that we're wrapping up this lesson, right, Query has given us the exact amount of items that are to be ordered, considering previous Q3 consumption baseline. This is cool, right? But I had another sort of thought, right? Something to wrap things up a little bit more neatly. I wanted to ask Query, right? Okay, this is great, but how much more of each item should be ordered, and when should they be ordered, considering the season, right? And just to put another little point, little takeaway for you, right? Query has given us this. So not only do we know exactly how much should be ordered for Q3, but when it comes to each item, we know how much it's being consumed, right? And of course, as we've previously calculated, right, we know the peak month for each one. Query gives it to us again right here. And we know by how much, right, percentage wise, demand increases for each one as well, right? For wedding invitations, it goes up by 421%, which is enormous. Graduation announcements go up by 305%, right? This is amazing, right, for Marcus, right? And if we're talking about addressing Marcus's inventory issues, I think this is exactly what the doctor ordered. So I think there are a few key takeaways here. So number one, really understand your data before you dive in. You see, in Marcus's case, his data had plenty of room to get lost in. And remember, there were times when we had to stop and evaluate how what we were learning fit into the wider narrative. When you do that, it allows for more comprehension of your data journey. So, number two, make sure you plan ahead. In Marcus's case, if he can factor in holidays months and months before he finds himself in the midst of them, there are massive opportunities for him to get on top of things before they get too chaotic. And number three, put it all together. So, like we said before, Marcus's data had a lot of room to get lost in it, and we had to absolutely understand every corner of it in order to make sure we didn't get lost. We were able to organize orders into usage patterns like baseline and seasonal, and print templates into standard and custom. And using query, this was super easy, and Marcus could keep his head on straight. Keep your head on straight and take the quiz to get to the next section. Take care, guys.